I don't have the same level of difficulties as our colleagues. And therefore, I would like to have us all think of them. I would like to dedicate my comments to them and all that they endure. And now I'm going to make my presentation. I have some pictures to show you, and therefore I'm going to go to the podium.
Bonjour, mesdames.
Ladies and gentlemen, speaking about human rights in Vietnam today, we can say that this is deteriorating increasingly, in particularly in the area of freedom of the press and internet. And I would like to illustrate this situation through a concrete and recent case. Last 10th of August at 7 o'clock in the morning, I received a call from Vietnam telling me that Mr. Pham Minh Hoang, a member of the Vietnam Tan, was summoned to the security police. And after 3 days of interrogation, he was placed under arrest. And he is still under arrest. Now, why was he arrested? He was a lecturer in mathematics at the Polytechnic of Saigon. But he's also a blogger. His pseudonym is Phan Kinh Quoc, and he wrote texts that were critical of the regime. And he organized free training sessions to train students to be leaders. And these students were very enthusiastic and created discussion forums online to share what they had learned with others. And because of this online activity, he was arrested and then indicted for attempting to overthrow the regime. Concerning the press in Vietnam, there are more than 600 media and 40 TV channels, and they are all under the control of the Vietnam authorities. So when journalists go a bit too far in their investigations of corruption involving high-level people, they become targets for the authorities. The luckiest amongst them just lose their job, but the others are imprisoned. And in addition to the public media, we have so-called independent media with personal blogs, and some of them receive thousands of visitors to their site who are looking for information that is not censored. And since the government does not authorize this, the authors of these blogs are subject to police repression. And for sites abroad, the regime practices censure, a long-distance censure by sending out cyber attacks. And our sites, vietan.org and radiochantroimoi.com, are regularly victims of denial of service attacks with an IP address in Vietnam. And the authorities continue to send Vietnamese cybernauts booby-trapped emails with spyware, allowing them to steal passwords of their email accounts or their personal blogs. Now, moreover, in Vietnam, there are firewalls that prevent Vietnamese cybernauts from having access to certain sites abroad, like that of Human Rights Watch. And faced with these activists who are fighting for the freedom of expression, there's been a heavy-handed response. Over the past 4 years, tens of dozens of activists have been arbitrarily arrested and judged under bogus accusations, and they've been given heavy sentences, up to 16 years of prison. And of course, they have no right to have any defense. And the last trial of this kind took place on the 26th of January, where an activist for democracy, Vi Dun Quoc, was sentenced to 8 years of prison for postings on the internet and interviews given to the foreign media. media, because the regime considers this to be propaganda against the state, against the party. And ladies and gentlemen, in order to show the image of a state that respects the rule of law, Vietnamese regime has harnessed a legal arsenal to gag the democratic opposition and deter people from becoming political activists. Therefore, activists that are members of an organization or of a political party have been accused of trying to overthrow the state under Article 79 of the Penal Code, or of terrorism under Article 84, if the organization is based abroad. For others, the regime has accused them of propaganda against the state and the party under Article 88. And this law is so vague that anybody could be accused of this crime. Moreover, when necessary, the regime does not hesitate to rig criminal occurrences, using false evidence to support their accusations. And I have personally been a victim of this practice. As I told you, I was arrested in Saigon in November of 2007 during a trip to Vietnam when I was covering the non-violent methods used by Viet Thanh. 5 other people, members of Viet Thanh, were also arrested with me. And when we were arrested, the public security police found pamphlets that were nonviolent, but that's all. But in order to justify their accusations against us of terrorism, they put a pistol in the baggage of a couple of American Vietnamese tourists. And then they forced the couple to state that the arm was intended for the Viet Thanh. But unluckily for the authorities, the couple came from Los Angeles, and it was impossible for the American authorities to accept the fact that a pistol could have been put on a board leaving a plane leaving that airport. And so there was a hue and cry that ensued by this manipulation, and the Vietnamese regime freed me after 25 days of detention without trial. Now, faced with this situation, Viet Thanh is carrying out concrete actions, supporting freedom on internet and denouncing abuse by of legal authority in Vietnam. For a number of years, Viet Thanh has been carrying out a campaign to support freedom of internet in Vietnam, to keep Vietnamese cybernauts informed of how to use tools to circumvent censure, to protect their privacy, and to protect them from the booby-trapped emails of the regime. And these methods and tools and tutorials are available all on our blog number Firewall, known as No Firewall. And we would be very happy to work with other NGOs who are specialized in this area. And we call upon the large internet companies like Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, Facebook to refuse to work with the regime if they asks them to give them the identity of the cybernauts. Now, in terms of legal matters that I mentioned before, Vietnam is using a legal arsenal to muzzle the opposition, and we support the initiative of several Vietnamese lawyers who are denouncing the misconduct in the judiciary system in Vietnam and its lack of independence in relation to the executive power. The Vietnamese penal code must be reformed, and certain anti-libertarian articles must be deleted, like Article 88, which is propaganda against the state and the party. This kind of article only exists in countries where freedom of expression does not exist. Dictatorial countries like Vietnam use this to arbitrarily arrest people who oppose their policies. And now, after all of that, Vietnam would like to apply to become a member of the Human Rights Council. Imagine how ironic, or rather, what a tragedy. I think that even before it registers, it must be able to guarantee that its own people have basic rights and that they have a society that respects human rights, where freedom of expression, freedom of association, and equality before the justice system must be respected. Now, following the revolutions that have been successfully carried out in Tunisia and Egypt, we are waiting for a wave of democracy to arrive in Asia. And calls have already been launched for protests to take place, and actions taken by ONGs to defend human rights, like the activities here today, are crucial. They help to strengthen the Vietnamese democratic movement so that one day conditions will be propitious for a revolution to occur in Vietnam as well. I thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup à vous pour